awakens memories, and it will make memories. Memories that will write the story of Big Booty Land. And so, let's write our story. Guess who's back?
Hello, D-Gens. Welcome to Degenerate Takes. I, of course, am the Brofect one, AJ. Happy Monday, Labor Day, September 1st, 2025. Hope you're having a great long weekend. Hope you're having a great day. Got a lot to talk about. I've been gone for a minute, and yeah, we've got to keep it moving, and we will. We got a lot to speak on today. Big trade happened in the NFL that finally occurred. We'll break all of that down and what it really means. Not to mention, we had an epic college football week one with a lot of overreactions to come. Get ready for those and a little bit of everything else in the pocket. We will get to it all. But before I go any further, just want to take a moment. Shout out to everyone watching here on Rumble, over on YouTube and X. Y'all are the best. If you like what we're cooking, please hit those like buttons, hit the follow buttons. Does help us out a lot more than you know. But let's go ahead and truly start with the biggest news coming out of the NFL in the last week since I've been away. And it was news that I got to say was fairly shocking and I wasn't expecting. But it did come, and I think we just have to live with it. You know what I mean? It's a good move. It's a good move overall. And of course, I'm speaking on the fact that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have gotten engaged. Congratulations to them. No. Obviously, I'm referring to the fact that Micha Parsons gets traded from the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers. Dallas receives Kenny Clark, 2026-2027 first-round picks. Green Bay receives Micha Parsons. Micha Parsons going to be wearing that green and gold for Green Bay, Wisconsin, adding, in my opinion, a little bit of firepower and depth to that defense and to what they need. And this is a good team. This is a good team, and I don't understand, I guess, where people are coming from with this not being a good trade for the Packers, or people saying this Packers roster is still mid, even with the addition of Micha Parsons. Now, I think myself and Noah including would agree that, this team isn't, the defense at least wasn't something to write home about, but the offense had been hitting on all the right notes, excuse me. Yes, Jordan Love still has a little bit of development that needs to occur for him to be that big franchise time quarterback, but it's not so much development left that it's going to harm him in the long run. But if anything, this gives them so much help. I mean, so much help on that defensive line that does pretty well with Colby Wooden, and Devontae Wyatt. You got Rashawn Gary on the opposite side of Micha Parsons, which is nice. Luke Van Ness backing him up. That is a dirty defensive line. And as we've talked about a lot this offseason, where we're seeing kind of the NFL transition to and the type of game plan we're seeing them transition to, focusing on the run game, winning in the trenches, and getting those short yardage and making those into big plays, and then opening that pass game up on the play action. We're seeing a lot more old school football. And so Green Bay investing what they're investing into Micha Parsons in order to shore up that defensive line, I think is a great move overall. They got him for the next 4 years, $47 million a year. I mean, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Why wouldn't you pay that guy $47 million a year? Why wouldn't you pay him coming off of his rookie deal, $47 million a year? We've talked about how good of a trade this was for the Packers. Let's get to the real meat and bones of this whole situation. And that is the Dallas Cowboys and their owner, GM, Jerry Jones. And man, I think in my heart of hearts, I always expected Micah to come home to the Cowboys. It didn't seem like the kind of guy that, of all the guys that Jerry has dealt with over the years, that in his rookie year, he would be okay with letting walk because he couldn't get to that number, or because he refused to deal with an agent, or because he thought he had a handshake deal with the player. It's wild to me because that part just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? That part just doesn't make sense. Like, Jerry Jones always walks around and touts about he is the man. He has, his hand doesn't get tired writing those checks and everything like that, and how much money he's got, all that. And he just doesn't, I guess I want to say, back it up. It's so much talk at this point, and so many of the negotiations and everything with a lot of his star players in the last couple of years have gone down to the wire, and I think it was very eye-opening as, someone who's born in the mid-90s, not really living through or remembering the Cowboys era of football, and going back to that Netflix documentary and seeing how Jerry Jones handled business, with the players, hearing their side of what they did and how he handled it. And it's so similar to what's going on with Jerry Jones nowadays and how he's handling contracts, handling negotiations with players directly, not wanting to deal with agents. And it's mind-blowing. It really is, and it felt like one of those things for a long time where it was going to be like CeeDee Lamb, it was going to be like Dak, it was going to be like et cetera, where Jerry's still going to get his guy. He's going to have to wait for it. He's going to have to wait to get paid, but he's going to get paid, and it's going to be something. And I do believe Jerry had a fat contract out there that would have made him one of the highest paid players in the NFL. And whether Micha was just so sick at that time of dealing with the mess and everything that is the Dallas Cowboys right now and just wanted to go to Green Bay, I don't blame him. I don't blame him, and I don't blame Micha, because why did it take this long? If I am that valuable, if you do think I'm that great, why is it taking so long for you to call my agent and get this done? I understand, Jerry, that you thought we had a handshake deal and everything done, but why won't you just call him, bro? Just call him. Let's get it done. We already have the framework. Let's just iron out the deals. I have no idea, taking a team-friendly deal, which it sounds like he was willing to do. And now we're here where Micah Parsons is no longer a part of the Dallas Cowboys, and Jerry Jones sitting here with 2 first-round picks in the next 2 years, and not a lot else to show for it. At the end of the day, just not a lot else to show for it. And I hate to say, another wasted season for the Dallas Cowboys. And it's getting sad at this point. It was fun for a while with having the Cowboys and Cowboys fans suffer, and still seeing them buy into the delusion that this team is going to be good. This team is going to be something. And yet here we are with the Cowboys letting a generational talent go, which is unbelievable to me, and it doesn't make sense. There has to have been something else that went on behind the scenes that didn't get out to the media that led to this breakup. Because, there have been many players that have requested a trade. That trade doesn't get granted, and they work out a big multi-year deal. You know what I mean? And so for Micha to request a trade, for Micha to essentially just, nah, dude, we're done. You can take the offer and shove it up your ass. I mean, it's wild. It's wild. And now the Packers more than likely are going to dominate the NFC North, and the Cowboys are going to be a bottom feeder in the NFC East. And let's be realistic here. Just because they traded away Micah Parsons doesn't mean they're going to go 0 for this season. I'm not saying anything like that. All I am, it doesn't help. I think that's the biggest takeaway of the whole thing, is that it just doesn't help in general for the Cowboys and what's already a struggling defense. And now you're taking away the threat on the edge. I mean, listen, that secondary is Swiss cheese. At least it was last year, and they didn't make a lot of moves to at least in my opinion, they didn't make a lot of moves to secure that secondary and make it a little bit more dangerous. And now you're taking away the guy that was providing the pressure on the edge. The Cowboys aren't cooked, but they ain't gonna do well this season. And I'm one of those guys that didn't have the Cowboys doing well in general this season. I think I had them going 500 or below 500, game above or a game below, excuse me. And I don't think there's any chance they get that now. I will say I don't think they go anywhere close to 9-8 or 8-9. I think if they go 5-7, that's a very good season. 5-12. I think that's a very good season for the Dallas Cowboys this year. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough with a Dak Prescott that, lack of better terms, is in decline, with only weapon on offense really being CeeDee Lamb, a running back room that's less than desirable. I mean, you just can point at almost any position group on the Dallas Cowboys, and that's a pretty solid reason for why they're not going to be good this year. You know, questions about that O-line and everything too. I mean, it's wild. It is wild. And again, not a trade that I thought we were going to see. And I know one of the last shows I did before I went on vacation, I had talked about, like, it does seem like it's heading towards a trade at this point with the trade request, with the shoving up the ass of the contract, everything. Like, it did seem like it was going towards a trade. I guess just in the back of my head, it seemed very Jerry Jones to just let it ride and sign him at the 11th hour. You know, and it's wild, man. It's wild. It's wild that Micha Parsons is no longer a Cowboy. It's wild that they only got 2 first-round picks and Jaden Reed for him. It's wild that, I mean, seriously, Packers got away with murder. And one of the points that I've been hearing consistently, which I think is a great point in this whole trade, is, yes, they're 2 first-round picks, but they're not going to be high draft picks. What, the Packers picked at like 18 or 17 this last season? You know, so it's going to be a bottom 17 draft pick. And so, especially, you know, with the confidence boost and that defensive edge there with Micha Parsons, I mean, you're probably looking at a in the 20s, 25 range of a draft pick for next season. And so, who knows? Who knows? One of my early takes on this, when I saw the initial trade haul and everything, was, oh, okay, Dallas is ready to move on from Dak Prescott. That was my initial reaction to this whole thing, was Dallas is now has the firepower, because I don't think they're going to play bad enough to get that number 1 overall pick. I don't think they're going to play bad enough to get that number 1 overall pick. I think they're going to need some trade power behind it. And I don't think it's going to be a drastic move, but I do think it'll be a move within the top 10 they're going to have to make. And so having those extra ones in the back pocket for next season, for the next 2 seasons, for that season and the next season, is going to be solid. Because then, yeah, you can trade your 5 that season and your 2 in 2027 and still have your, 28th, between 20 and 28th, and still get 2 picks there in the first, and then help stack up on the offensive line or in the wide receiver room if you want to, and help out Arch. And yes, it is going to be Arch. And that's where we're going to go next. We're going to talk about Arch Manning, because I watched that game. Hell of a game. Hell of a football game. Hell of a great way to start off, you know, a good Saturday on college football. And let me pull that. Hold on. Before I do that, let me pull up the exact stat sheet real quick, because there's some stuff I want to talk about, if you can't tell, with this game. And specifically Arch Manning, because, you know, I do think in the long run, short term, Arch Manning is going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft this year. If he declares for the draft, Arch Manning will be the number 1 overall pick. I like what a couple other guys did. We'll get to that in a second, just like Julian saying. I loved what he did this weekend. Arch Manning went 17 for 30, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 58 QBR. For comparison, Julian Sayin went 13 for 20, 126 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interception, 74.5 QBR. The story in this game is not Arch Manning's shortcomings. The story of this game is Oh shit, Ohio State's defense somehow remained to stay the same or get a little bit better. Because when I was watching that game, I was really expecting to either love what Arch was doing or really shit on him for whatever he was doing. And it got to the point where I couldn't do either of those because I was just in awe that Ohio State went to a national championship this last year, won the national championship, had a bunch of guys leave, whether due to the draft or the portal, and their defense is still this solid. That is not a defense that played well because they were playing against a bad quarterback or a quarterback who's going to be a bust. No. That is a good defense that is going to play good every single week this season. That is a hard-nosed, hard-mouth, let me take some guy's head off type defense. And Texas wasn't ready for that. And let's talk about that as well. Arch Manning, his first game on the road as a starting quarterback, and he is playing in the shoe. Week 1, home opener at Ohio State. I would not put that on my worst enemy. I mean, talk about a shitty situation to be making your first start. On the road at Ohio State, home opener. I mean, that's tough, bro. That's tough. And I mean, 7 for 14, Texas's defense did show up. And that's why I don't think you can, like, it was a defensive battle of a game. It was not because Arch didn't perform as well. There were a lot of drop balls. There was a lot of, I would say, neither offense played particularly well in the first half. Ohio State got a little momentum in the second, and that's when they scored their points. But I mean, it wasn't like Ohio State was walking all over Texas or anything like that. Their defense was just a little bit better. Their offense got a little lucky, and that was that. Arch is going to be fine. If there's any quarterback this weekend that I was worried about, it's not Arch Manning. It's not Julian Sayin. It's neither of these guys. They just went up against two of the better defenses in this league, in college football, week 1. And, you can still have a best game of your life, and you can still have a 7-14 game as a quarterback. 17 for 30, that's still more than half. I'm fine with that. 170 yards, that's more than 126 from Julian Sayin last time I checked. And what did he do on the ground? 10 carries for 38 yards? Yeah, I'll take that. And I will say, I do think they could have used Arch a little bit more on the ground in his game. Whether they want to save that or not, or whether they just weren't getting the looks is something to be determined. But I do, Arch does run the football, and he runs the football very well and very effectively. I don't know if you need designed quarterback runs for him. I don't think it would hurt. I also don't think running a couple more RPOs wouldn't hurt. And doing something to give him that time in the pocket. And again, I don't think he's going to play another defense as tough as Ohio State going forward, maybe Georgia. But I unless they see him again in the playoffs, I think, let me double check myself real quick. Hold on. Florida, Oklahoma, Vandy. Yeah, I think this is the toughest defense they're going to see all year, except for playing. And again, it's going to be at Georgia late in the season. That's not going to be a fun matchup for them. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if Arch struggles in that game as well with the type of defenses Kirby Smart throws at these quarterbacks. But again, their next week is against San Jose State and then UTEP and then Sam Houston. Arch Manning's about to throw for 400 yards in the next 3 games, each game. He's about to go ham. And that's just what happens, though, with those cupcakes. And that's fine. He needs those. I think he needs those cupcakes. He needs to build that confidence. And then he's going at Florida, home against Oklahoma, at Kentucky, at Mississippi State. I mean, yeah, this was the toughest defense Arch Manning is going to see until they play Georgia and then until they go to the playoffs. And the fact that he went 17 for 30 in his first game as a starter at the shoe, home opener. I mean, again, and it sounds like I'm making mistakes for the guy, but again, I didn't see anything that was wrong with his reads. I didn't, besides the one interception, I didn't see anything wrong with his reads. I didn't see anything like, oh shit, he better never do that again, or he's got to get rid of that. Like, it was very sound technically. And from what he was seeing, I thought he made the right decisions. I think the wide receivers had an issue. I think the environment played a thing. And yes, those are excuses at the end of the day, but something I think is still worth mentioning and noting, especially going forward, because just because Arch threw 17 for 30 doesn't mean I'm not going to bet on Texas the next 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, and so just kind of taking it that way. All right, let's talk about this. Let's start overreacting about college football because we're all the way back, baby. We've got UNC and TCU at UNC tonight. I will be live for that game. You're not going to want to miss that later tonight. First game of the season we're live for. Bill Belichick in his debut as a college football head coach. Cannot wait for that. But I want to talk about a team that is getting a lot of hype, and I think is going to be cooling off relatively soon here, and that is Arizona State. And you watch this show enough, you know I am a former U of A grad, you know I'm a big Wildcat fan, etc. But I want to be honest, I'm looking at this just from a football standpoint. I'm not looking at this from a rivalry standpoint, okay? ASU is in trouble. ASU is in trouble. They played NAU this weekend. They win 38-19. Listen, NAU, they've never had a good football team. Okay, they've never. Like, U of A in our worst years has been able to put up better than 19 points on NAU. Okay, and let's just get that clear real quick. Secondly, it's a defensive worry because, you know, even though it was field goals, they only scored one touchdown. Like, yeah, that looks good, but also against NAU, that defense needs to be, you know, holding it to a field goal, not 2 field goals in a quarter, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's those small things. And again, I get it. Week 1, got to get those kinks out. But then the offense as well, stuttering a little bit in that second quarter when the starters were still in. I mean, Sam Levitt going 25 for 39, 257, 2 touchdowns and an interception. It's fine. Not a better QBR than Arch Manning this week. Just saying. You know, it's worth pointing out. Not to mention, I mean, running back room was fine. I mean, it's going to be a running back room by committee, which is okay. It's not what we're used to out of this ASU team coming from last year. But receiving core did fine. But again, only one guy really putting up numbers in Jordan Tyson, who will be clearly their number 1 receiver this season. But, you know, ASU doesn't have a easy schedule this year by any means necessary. Not only is the Big 12 just good in general, but they had a good season last year. And so they're going to beef it up a little bit. They're playing at Mississippi State next week. And between us, you know, ASU is a 6.5 point favorite on the road there. I'm looking Mississippi State early. I don't know, man. I don't know. That seems like a very losable game for ASU. Their first real test on the road in the SEC. And I know we always joke about it being different down there and everything, but the fans are fucking crazy. I'll give them that. I will give them that. The fans are crazy. And so I could see that being a very losable game for ASU early in the season here. And I don't think it's, again, with the new way the college football playoffs are set up, I don't think a loss early is going to overly hurt a team. I just don't think that it'll help, especially if it's against an SEC school, because we all know how the AP and everyone feel about the SEC. So what you going to do there, brother? But no, I think ASU is going to be fine this year. Like, I don't think it's going to be a huge slide. I just think it's going to be more of a, man, they could have been good, but they're definitely missing Cam Scatterville. McCormick in the chat. What's good, brother? What is good, bro? Football was awesome this weekend. And I really think we're going to get a solid banger here tonight with TCU UNC. I really do. And I mean, and I'm glad you brought up that football was great all weekend because it really started week 1 with Iowa State and Kansas State. I mean, first of all, just great. The atmosphere in Ireland is always epic. I love that they do this game over season week 0. I love that they put Farmageddon there. And it was all the craziness that you can expect from a typical overseas football game. Iowa State coming away with this one 24-21. Avery Johnson going 21 for 30, 273 yards, 2 touchdowns on Kansas State's side. And it just got to a point where I was watching the game and it got to about the third quarter when Iowa State scored that touchdown. And I was like, damn, they're going to somehow give this one away. Kansas State's going to give this one away, and it ain't going to be pretty because they were looking so hot going into it, being tied going into halftime. They had the momentum. Avery Johnson was looking better, but it wasn't enough for me, and it wasn't enough for this game in general. And one note I sent Noah, and I think it sums up what my issues are with Avery Johnson in general as a quarterback, is when I watch him, I just see him as a college quarterback. I don't see him as the future of a franchise. I don't see him leading a franchise or anything like that. I don't see him at the next level like that. And again, I think he is a fine college quarterback, but a guy that gets a little too much hype with a team that gets a little too much hype that is now more than likely going to fall out of the top 25. Maybe stay in there because there's been a lot of craziness in the top 25, like Boise State getting belt to ass against USF. That was insane. But, man, yeah, K-State, again, they're going to be competitive all season long. But, Avery's just not that guy. He's just not that guy. And that's fine. Again, he's a good college football quarterback. But a guy that I see in the league, no, just not that guy. Not that guy. What else caught my eye? Penn State looks dominant. They look good. I was shocked by the LSU Clemson result. I'm not gonna lie. Night games have been great. Yeah, Miami Duke. Let's talk about that real quick. That was a hell of a football game, wasn't it? That was so much fun. 24-27, the final score there. And listen, these are two teams that we're going to be talking about in the college football playoffs later this season. And I will say, though, and I know Miami won, but in the fourth quarter there, it just felt like another Miami choke job. It just felt like another, Miami's going to give this one away again. Miami's, Cristobal's going to F this one up, or Carson Beck's going to throw an interception, or something's going to happen, and Miami's going to blow it. They ended up not blowing it. A shout out to them. Carson Beck looked fine, 20 for 31, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's a good outing. Good outing from the kid. Don't hate it. CJ Carr, though, from Notre Dame, 19 for 30, 221, 2 touchdowns, an interception. Not bad. Not bad. A guy that I definitely think is going to develop into a better quarterback throughout this season. And a Notre Dame team that I think is, they had some stutters last season early, and I think it's going to be a little bit of the same there. And Notre Dame's going to be fine, though. I love what I saw in defense from them. I liked where they're going on offense. I get where they're trying to go, and I think they're going to get there in the next couple of weeks. But loved the matchup, and I think they play this game again. I think Notre Dame's going to come out with a different strategy and roll on them. Road Dog in the chat. What's up, buddy? See Johnson transition to wide receiver. For me, yeah. That's fair. I don't hate that. But I don't know, man. Notre Dame, I think they're going to be good this year again. Watching Miami, like, I was not on the preseason hype with Miami whatsoever. And watching them play a full football game now. Yes, I know. Yes, I'm there now, Road Dog. Thank you. Yeah, he did look good. Anyway, where was I? Watching Miami play, and trying to just put away all of the preseason hype and everything, and just watching them play, just the first eye test of Miami, and I didn't like what I saw. I don't know. And that was the thing was, I can't put my finger on it. And McCormick, I agree with you, bro. Miami's defense looked great. The defense looked great. I thought Carson Beck, again, his stats speak for himself. I thought he looked fine. I thought the offense looked fine. But there was just something watching Miami play football that wasn't appealing and didn't look good and didn't look successful in the long run. I don't know exactly what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but it's one of those things. Give me another game or two to watch and I can probably pinpoint what it is. But right now, and I might go back and watch the tape because it bugs me that I can't figure it out. But there is something about this Miami team that I really don't like and I don't think is going to be successful. And McCormick, I get it. And it's not a hate thing for Miami. Like, I don't like Miami in general, but it's like a football thing. Like, there's something they do football-wise that I don't like, and I can't figure out what it is right now after watching one game. And yeah, credit where credit's due. That defense looks strong. Offense looked prepared. There's something, though. There's something, and I'm going to figure out what that something is, but it may take me a week or two. But I'm going to figure out what that something is. They're going to be dangerous, though. They're going to be dangerous. Thank you, McCormick. Just something. And the numbers aren't going to show it right now, but we need a couple of weeks. But it's going to be something in the film, or it's going to be something on the sheet where I can point to and be like, that's what it was. And so we'll have to wait and see, but there is something wrong with Miami. Oregon's going to be really good again. I know Montana State and everything, but 59-13. I'll never bat my eye when a team puts up a 50 burger, never bat my eye at that. I wasn't overly impressed with SMU this weekend against East Texas A&M. 42-13, I mean, solid score, but just wasn't overly impressed by them. Oklahoma looks like a bottom 15 team. A&M look fine. Just trying to see if anything else stuck out at me. Oh, that's what it was. Virginia Tech's going to be dangerous. I don't think Virginia Tech's making the playoff or anything like that, but they are going to be one of those teams this year that is a dream killer. Like, they're going to be a team where it's like, you did so well, but you lost, those 2 losses and then that loss to Virginia Tech. They're going to ruin some seasons this year. Like, look out for Virginia Tech later in the season when they're playing a team that's right on the cusp and need to get it going. Let's look late in the season what their schedule looks like. Oh, yeah. Got last 4 weeks, Louisville, Florida State, Miami, Virginia. They'll probably kill a Miami or Florida State. Florida State looked damn good. I mean, talk about, a rough last season for the Seminoles and then coming out belt to ass against Alabama. Whew. Listen. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Seminoles, Florida State just had a bad year last year. Lost too many pieces from there. A little probably deflated from not getting put into the playoff. And yeah, but Norvell was able to reload, restock, and get the boys going in the right direction. And they looked every bit as better than Alabama as the score suggests. And all the clips are flying, the edits are flying of, perhaps the laziness and the unwillingness to compete maybe on the Alabama side, and them not being able to, on some plays showing that maybe they gave up a bit. That's rough. It's a rough look. And I mean, that's something DeVore is definitely going to have to address, and something that I'm sure the players are going to be running for this week. But that's not Alabama football that we're used to seeing. And I mean, we could be seeing the Tide go on a downturn here. I'm not overly concerned about it. I think FSU is actually just that good this year that they can beat a number 8 Alabama belt to ass, and no, they're just that good. But yeah, Bama, who do they play next? Yeah, they get it a little easy next week. UL Monroe, but then they get Wisconsin at Georgia, Vanderbilt at Missouri, and they got a road to go. They've got a road to go, but starting off with a loss, not great, but it's Alabama. They're going to figure out some way to shove them in the playoffs. Wide receiver, more beard. Oh, you do. You do, brother. Oh, man. And that's and that was the one thing. It was so nice to log on to Twitter and my timeline and just see, some nasty hits, some crazy plays like that. I forgot who it was, but who did the fake punt with their backup QB. They trotted him out there, and then he just threw a bomb to the end zone. Like, football's all the way back, and you got to absolutely love it. You got to absolutely love it. But yeah, I mean, it's great. Oh, update on the Parsons story. That back injury seems to be real, and not just something he was saying to the Cowboys to stay out of training camp. Micha Parsons has been dealing with an L4, L5 facet joint sprain in his back, may receive an epidural before Sunday's game against the Lions if needed to help him play. So Micha Parsons going to be playing this Sunday, whether hell or high water comes. Yeah, obviously, because, I mean, even if he doesn't know every play or doesn't know what the play calls are, you make the play call, you throw in the hot route of Micha Parsons, go get that quarterback. Micha Parsons fire. You just let him go eat and let him do what Micha Parsons does. But with an epidural, that might be hard. Well, not hard. He'll probably feel really good. But that is all I got today. Again, I'll be live later tonight for the UNC Miami game. We'll be breaking that down, my full analysis, along with my live bets for the game. And anything else that comes across my mind that I want to talk about. But we'll be live on probably 10 to 15 minutes before kickoff. So keep a lookout for that. But hey, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. Shout out to everyone here watching on Rumble, YouTube, and over on X. Y'all are the best. If you like what we're cooking, please hit those like buttons, hit the follow buttons. Helps out a lot more than you know. But again, I will be live later tonight for TCU at UNC. We will have a great time. Have a great rest of your Labor Day. I'll see y'all later. Good luck. God bless. I'm the Brofect One AJ. See you guys next time on Degenerate Takes.